What's up, War Report family? It's your man Ike Jones here. Listen, before we get into this great LSU content, our betting sponsor BUSR has something great for y'all on the download. Check this out. They want to show their appreciation by giving away a free account to somebody. All you need to do is head over to busr.com/report. If you sign up, not only can you get a free account, but they're also giving $200 away for you to use anywhere on the site. Listen, you can't beat this deal. I need y'all to go ahead and head over there, sign up just in time to place your bets for the weekend. We're going to announce the winner right here on the channel. So make sure you stay locked right in here and go to busr.com/report. Let's get to it. War Eagle. What's up, War Report family? We are here. LSU game is on the horizon. And listen, I'm not an LSU guy. You guys know that. But we do have someone right here who is going to talk about the LSU team. I've got Mike Scarborough here. He is the publisher and recruiting analyst for TigerBait.com, here to give us all the scoop on LSU. Mike, welcome to the War Report.
Hey, glad to be with you guys. I've been watching what you guys have been doing throughout this season, and y'all do a fantastic job with your breakdowns, and it looks like your channel is growing by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, man, it's been a great ride so far, man. We are hoping to continue that escalation. We were talking a little bit off camera. I am going to be down in Baton Rouge this weekend, so hopefully we'll get an opportunity to meet each other in person. But tell me, what am I walking into down there in Baton Rouge? And, what kind of environment is it? Not just the stadium, but just like around the program right now. What can we expect going down there to Baton Rouge?
Well, I think LSU is kind of like a lot of SEC schools where the athletic directors are probably feeling like they overbuilt and they have too many seats in the stadium, and you're not necessarily, you can give your paid attendance, but is it your actual? So is the stadium going to be at 88,000 actual, 92,000 rather than 102? We'll see, but it is an 8 o'clock kickoff, so that's going to be a night game plus, and depending on how many pass attempts by both teams, this game is going to run late. And so by the time we get to doing our post-game show on Tiger Bait, and by the time that thing ends, I'm guessing we're going to be close to 2 in the morning. So it's I think it's going to be a fun time. I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but we've had a few little cold fronts in the last few weeks, so hopefully we get another one. But either way, I think y'all are going to have a good time, and I think it's going to be a whale of a football game. I think both schools need this one, because when you're looking at the lay of the land, and in the summer, everybody thought it was going to be Mississippi State and Arkansas in the bottom.
Right.
Alabama and Texas A&M 1-2. And then, was it going to be LSU, Auburn, Ole Miss, jockey in there somewhere in the middle? And now Arkansas. I mean, what are we going to do if Arkansas? What are we going to be thinking if Arkansas does something at 11 a.m. Saturday against Georgia? I mean,
right.
And I'm loving watching what Sam Pittman's doing at Arkansas. A hell of a job, hell of a coach, doing it with a bunch of 3-star talents and recruiting classes that are never rating amongst the best of their peer group. So this is a must-win for LSU. I thought last weekend against Mississippi State it was a win that Ed Orgeron had to have. There's even was some thought that if that thing got ugly and if it looked as ugly as last year's Mississippi State game, might he have a Sunday like Les Miles had in 2016.
Right.
So, but no, all of a sudden LSU, they just keep taking it one game at a time. I don't think, looking at the wins, wherever they're going to come from the rest of the way, I don't know there's going to be the wins that have a bunch of style points that we're not going to have guys in our post game, not having anything to complain about.
Right.
But I will say this: I think the defense for LSU has played better each week. I think. When the other team has had some success, it's because LSU's done something wrong.
Okay.
There's been a busted coverage.
A busted coverage, yeah.
Yeah, you had guys thinking they were in man and they were in zone, or safeties in zone, and it's been little things like that.
Right.
But I think the defense up front, and of course, Ali Gay, if he gets back to 100%, Ojulari's doing what he's doing with his sacks. Damone Clark now is SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. Defensive Player of the Week. And so the defense is as good as I thought it was going to be, and I think that group can get better each and every week. And there's still some guys that I think that once they get healthy to add to it. Not saying anything about Derek Stingley right now.
I was going to ask, is he going to play this game? It's been
That's very, very doubtful.
yeah.
So the thoughts had been here for days that he's going to see a specialist. And is there a scenario where that foot is in a situation where he needs a surgery? And might it be we've seen the last of Derek Stingley is an LSU Tiger, and then him take it to the house, get whatever he needs to do, rehab, and then starts get ready for the NFL draft. But Dwight McGlothern played very well in his place on Saturday, but he's no Derek Stingley.
Right.
And then some will say that Stingley's hasn't played up to his standards, but he's also was hampered by missing a lot of August.
Right.
And didn't get to build up the soft tissue and take all the hits and do the tackling. And that caught up with him early in the season. So I think LSU's biggest question mark in the sore subject is the offensive line. That's bottom line.
Well, let's talk about offensive line in a second. You mentioned some key names there on defense. We know about Ojulari because he's been there for a minute, but talk to me a little bit about some of the places where, yes, these are strong points. You mentioned some guys, but then some things on the other side. If Auburn fans were saying to themselves, who are people that you were worried about from an LSU perspective that Auburn would exploit defensively? Like, where would those areas be for Auburn to say, okay, if we see them attack here, we know that there may be a problem.
I think if you're Auburn, what you're going to want to try to do is misdirection. You're going to want to do some things out of some sets that you maybe haven't done all year. Get that LSU defense off balance. Obviously, LSU down here, they're talking about Tank all week,
right?
And him being that big running back that you got to make allowances for. But that's one thing about Ed going to that 4-3. This healthy. This defensive line for LSU is going into the season was considered to be the best defensive line that Ed's had.
Okay.
Now on Saturday, and he admitted it yesterday, was that he didn't rotate his players like he said. But that was something I was saying all off season. With the number of defensive linemen and ends and edge rushers they've got, and high quality in numbers, if they were to stay healthy, that was going to be a big benefit for them against a lot of teams, because you had all the guys that opted to come back and for another year. Neil Farrell from out right there in South Alabama. Mm-hmm. He's been very good for LSU as always. Joe Evans, Jaquelin Roy. Now you got Mason and Ali Gay, who was a guy that was a little raw last year.
Right.
I still think the sky's the limit for him. Ojulari, Andre Anthony, you lose for the rest of the season. That's a bit of a blow. But even then, I think LSU absorbs that. So now you got Damone Clark in the second level, playing like everybody thinks he can play and getting better each week. Micah Baskerville's doing very well. I think LSU can defend the run, but but look, you've got some offensive linemen on Auburn that can make some holes. And if you go watch that UCLA game, I mean, I'm telling you, there was some holes for their little running back. In fact, two of them where you could have drove 18-wheelers through there. So as good as, but I think that was really just LSU not being prepared.
Mm-hmm. First game of the season, not really know what to expect type of stuff. Yeah.
And of course they practice all week in Houston because of Ida. And then, I think UCLA greatly benefited from playing Hawaii the week before.
Yeah, having the tune-up game.
LSU always seems to get suckered in those deals where they schedule that marquee or decent opponent week one, and they go and schedule somebody the week before. They open with Florida State, not like Florida State's a big deal next week, and Florida State's scheduled a game before now.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I agree with you. I think LSU has had some improvements, especially defensively, as the season has progressed. The question is whether or not those are going to be able to hold true once you get into SEC play against the run game of Auburn. But from a pass perspective, they've got some great pass rushers. And that's the thing I think from an Auburn perspective that we have to watch out for is not getting ourselves an obvious passing situation and letting the LSU team just kind of pin their ears back and come after it.
LSU's leading the nation in sacks right now.
Right. Yeah, awesome pass rush that's coming out there in LSU. All right, so let's flip it to the other side then. Let's talk about the LSU offense. Who are the people that Auburn fans will be looking at and saying to themselves, man, that guy gave us a tough time this Saturday?
Well, it's Keishawn Butte. I mean, LSU's strength is wide receivers. I mean, for all the DBU talk over the many years, LSU really is right there at WRU with the wide receivers. And Butte's right there amongst the receivers that you can talk about in LSU history in the last decade or two. But the fabulous freshmen, Deion Smith from Mississippi, Jack Besh. A lot of folks down here getting aggravated because Jack Besh, who we knew was going to be fantastic, is a true freshman because the offense he came from in St. Thomas More and Lafayette catches every ball, runs great routes. But it's aggravating to see him standing on the sideline on a lot of plays. But then you got Brian Thomas, Deion Smith, Coy Moore, Jenkins. They've got a slew of wide receivers, but it all starts with Keishawn Butte. So that's the strength of the LSU offense. And frankly, 2 weeks ago, Max Johnson basically had like a perfect game. He should have been out of that last series. He throws an ugly interception. That was his only blemish against Central Michigan. You look at his numbers, how effective he is, and then you really have to step back and say, this is a guy that's only played 6 games.
Right.
And look at his record as a starter. He's got 1 loss.
Max Johnson, that was one of the guys that our Mike G on our show, he's been high on him. He saw him come in and mop up duty in the Auburn game last year and liked the composure that he had from within the pocket. So definitely looking forward to see the maturation of Max Johnson as it comes over the next couple of seasons as he, takes the helm there at LSU. Miles Brennan, of course, is a talented guy, but Max Johnson's not going to make it easy for him to just step back in.
No, and by the way, had Miles been healthy, I believe Max had won the job anyways.
Okay. That's great for Max in that respect.
Yeah, Max is there every day doing the work in the summer. I think Miles was out fishing a good bit. I think it was Max's job. But, there's some people that thought maybe Miles might get the start, but then Max would play. I don't know what but either way, I think Max was the better talent. Okay. And, of course, y'all know what the third guy did. He's at Auburn.
Yeah. That's where we're going next, TJ Finley.
Yeah, and see, that was the deal that I'm watching Harson's press conference Monday, and I'm like, because I'm on my message board Saturday night, Sunday, saying, boy, if I'm him, I'm immediately coming out as soon as I can and saying it's Nix. So I can shield TJ all week from the former guy going to Death Valley to face his old team and try and tamp that down as much as possible. By the way, I love TJ. Followed him his whole high school career. Super kid, great parents. His little brother Cody's a heck of a player for Ponchatoula. But whether he starts or not, I have a feeling he's going to play a whole lot. And but that's going to be very interesting because that was one of the deals I was going back and forth with our fans on our shows where when Max came in and had success, and I think had Max played against Texas A&M last season, I think LSU would have won. They just needed a few decent series, and they didn't get it from TJ. And then Max comes in and wins the last 2 games. But anyways, but TJ, I was telling our fan base, look, man, don't throw him away. Let him come in. Let's see what the new offensive coordinator does. Let's see how he competes in spring. Let's see where the chips fall. He might be tailor-made for what Pete's wants to do. And I think there's still a whole lot of people down here that – and look at the situation now.
Right.
He could have been, of course, Nix hasn't performed at a high level, and that's why you're seeing Finley now. But all of a sudden Miles gets hurt. Right. And there's TJ who would have been right there in that situation again. Mm-hmm. So, history will see if it was the right move for TJ, but obviously great for him, and that was exciting for him Saturday.
Yeah, he came in and he did an admirable job in a tough situation against a team that, frankly, Auburn wasn't expected to be in that sort of dogfight with. But he showed tremendous composure, just coming in and doing what he needed to do. The cold arm coming in and getting the win, and making some athletic
Well,
plays that people didn't see.
he throws darts,
Yeah,
and that was one of those things that would. That's one of those things that was always the knock on TJ. When you had the opening, he didn't test. He wouldn't run the 40. He wouldn't do the shuttle, and going back and forth about what his ranking should be and all that stuff. But when he decides to take off and run, he's very reminiscent of Jamarcus Russell. In fact,
I can see that.
Like last year when he had the great game against South Carolina, I immediately messaged Jamarcus and wanted to see if I could get him for an interview because some real similarities. They probably run the same 40, deceptive speed, or when they have a third and long and all of a sudden they see a hole and they can get the first down, they can get it. Right. And they're hard to bring down because they're just big body kids.
Right.
So, but
yeah, I've liked what I've seen from TJ so far. He's a heady player, and like you said, he knows when to run, and he doesn't try to overuse his athleticism. It's just a sneaky kind of, I'll get out there in the open field, and because he's so tall, he chews up yardage really quickly, and he's on you before you realize.
But he also has that Jamarcus deal where he's got that arm, where he thinks he can get it there, and then a mistake can happen, right. And it takes a while. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one thing I think that we have to worry about from an Auburn perspective is it's going to be a hostile environment. Again, the pass rush is going to be ferocious. Can you stand in there and not force the ball into some situations where you don't need to? Can you make the pre-snap reads necessary to kind of analyze what's going on? Because we all know what the formula is right now. It's stack the box against the run, make the quarterback beat you. And so I think that that's probably going to be what LSU is going to try to do. They're just going to say, listen, you got first and second down. If your plan is to run, good luck. We'll just throw 9 guys in there and let.
And you're playing what Ed Orgeron wants to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Old school, and that's why he went from a 3-4 into a ran into a 4-3.
Yeah.
Which you can debate whether that was a wise move or not. We're going to find out in the coming weeks. But is his defense maybe better suited against Auburn than maybe some other offenses down the road?
Yeah, I mean, once you get into the Ole Misses, the Alabamas, the Mississippi, well, you already played Mississippi State, which you guys did an admirable job defensively.
But look, what he did 3-2-6 the other day. I mean,
right. Well, it's good to be able to be multiple and have some flexibility, especially considering you have such a good or a notable defensive backfield where they feel comfortable allowing those guys to play freely in space. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Auburn's got some issues that we have coming in the wide receiver position as to whether or not we have some continuity in that unit. So it will be interesting to see between the quarterback, I guess you can say controversy or uncertainty, and then the wide receiver uncertainty, how good our passing can be.
But if you say uncertainty at the quarterback spot, I think there's also can be some excitement there.
Absolutely.
If Nix ends up being the guy who trots out on that first series and the offense doesn't move, you still know you've got an out.
Right.
And not saying, whether TJ comes in and has a memorable game that they're talking about in the history books and leads Auburn to a win in Baton Rouge, we'll see.
Right.
But he's certainly capable, and I know he wants it bad.
Yeah, no, listen, I can imagine kind of how he feels like this is setting up for him to go back into LSU and have a great game and, just kind of be the hometown hero coming back home to beat the former team type of thing. It's setting up to be a perfect storybook ending, but whether or not it actualizes as that.
Before I was reading the release from LSU that they sent out, and it had all the superlatives and the history of the LSU Auburn series, and we had that run for so many years where there was the wacky stuff, the barn burning and the interception game, and of course now Jamie Howard from the interception game. His son Walker is a 5-star quarterback that's going to be at LSU at midterm. Absolutely fantastic. You want to talk about Max and whatever the quarterbacks? This kid is unbelievable.
Looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, but then you go down the line, but it's like really. That little trend where there was some wacky stuff going on kind of ended, and I think the last one was really, and I was standing right there, the Demetrius Byrd reception back in 2007. But
okay. Well, I mean, the one we were talking about just a little while ago, whether, whichever coach lost was going to be losing their job. That was a pretty wacky ending too. I mean, it was literally like they didn't get the snap off in time, and but it ended up being a touchdown on the play had it stood. Like it was crazy. Like it was just
You know what's shocking about that game was we all thought that, but I just did not believe that Oliva would make a move mid-season.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a source call me up and say, "Hey, man, so-and-so's in the building on this morning, Sunday, and he's never here. Something's up."
Yeah.
And I just kind of poo-pooed it, man. I had that story, man. I had it, and I just poo-pooed. I said, I don't, maybe he's picking up something. Maybe he left something in the office. Yeah.
That's crazy.
But the rest is history. The LSU should have done it the year before.
Yeah, listen, we at Auburn have similar feelings about the move that happened recently at our coaching position. Some people feel like it was a bad timing. I agree it was bad timing. It should have happened the year before that, right? Like I just think it had run its course.
Yeah, because and I don't know that you start running the math and it's like, okay, well, if you fire him now, you're going to owe him this much.
Right.
Okay, well, yeah, what's that amount next year? And is it worth it? The amount's still going to be big next year.
Exactly. So are you going to just run this number down, or are you going to run your program into the ground?
Yeah. What are you gaining?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, and I think LSU has some hope for this season. Started off rough. UCLA is turning out to be a pretty good team, though. So that's not looking like a terrible loss.
No, but if you're LSU, you would have liked for them to take care of business against Fresno. But then they turn around and beat Stanford.
Right. So, I mean, it's yet to be seen kind of how this season is going to shape out. Auburn has had a rocky start so far. Looked great offensively, of course, against two cupcakes. And then going to Penn State was uneven performance offensively. So you don't really know what you have from an offensive standpoint there. And I think that that's probably the only saving grace for Auburn is I don't know that LSU knows what we have either, right? So they just like, are they going to be the 60-point team? Or are they going to be the...
No, because I think of everybody that's on LSU's schedule right now, I think Auburn is the unknown.
Right.
And even though, Orgeron's at the top, but there's still some similarities. It's a new regime, new coaches. The majority of LSU's staff are brand new.
Right.
So there's some similarities in that regard. Like, you can talk about talent all you want, but do you have the right game plan, the scheme, or the preparation? There's still that stuff that new staffs have to work out.
Right.
And even
I think that's what it's going to come down to. Who prepared their kids the best to come in here and who had the right game plan. You can talk stars and talent and all that kind of stuff. Hey, listen, we saw with Georgia State last week. None of that stuff matters if you're executing the wrong game plan.
No doubt.
Yeah. So definitely looking forward to it. So before we get out of here, I told you I wasn't going to take up too much of your time. Before we get out of here, just tell us a little bit about, for Auburn fans that want to maybe keep up with some stuff, tell us a little bit about your platform and what you've got going on.
Yeah, tigerbait.com. This is our 25th year. And
25 years, awesome.
25 years. I started out when everybody was using dial-up. So we're the oldest and longest running LSU website in the market. And we use the same platform as texags.com. F5, and it's been fantastic. We've got a show on YouTube. If you go to LSU Tigers on Tigerbait, we've got shows, post-game shows, etc. We load up interviews and so forth all week long, and of course we do a lot of recruiting. We're out filming prospects every Thursday, Friday night. We're filming 3 games this weekend, this Thursday and Friday night, and so that's kind of where our bread and butter is recruiting and team coverage. But man, this is so busy. We got Kim Mulkey now in Baton Rouge, and there's a fever for women's basketball. She's opening a practice. We're doing that. Will Wade's starting basketball practice Friday. We've got a new baseball coach. Fall baseball has got people. I mean, it's nonstop. So we have to do it all.
Yeah. That sounds amazing, man. Well, listen, we hope to be able to have a similar story, 25 years in the business, but definitely appreciate you taking a little time to come and educate us about the LSU team. And we look forward to being down in Baton Rouge this weekend. Once again, I hope to be able to run into you there in the press box and we can maybe get a drink or something. Well, I don't know if we'll be able to get a drink.
Yeah, no doubt. Depending on what, shoot me a text or an email, depending on what day you get in. I got a few places to recommend for you to eat while you're in town.
Sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful. All right. Well, Mike, I appreciate it once again. War Report family, we have Mike Scarborough here breaking down the LSU team, publisher and recruiting analyst for TigerBait.com. We will holler at you guys soon. Until then, War Eagle.